So you've just planted a number of young trees and or other types of plants that you're trying to get established, but you live in an area where you've got a significant pressure from wildlife. The first option, and probably the most effective, is to provide some form of physical barrier, either by fencing off the area entirely or providing cages. However, there are some other options available. The deterrent that I've been using for a couple of years now is a bone sauce that I got from Permaculture's farm. And essentially what bone sauce is it's just a collection of animal bones that's been placed in a cauldron or a vat of some kind, and then it's heated up. Other things are added to it, and essentially what you're doing is you're rendering down these bones, and it's got a pretty putrid smell to it. And yeah, it's been pretty effective in the places that I have used it on my property. So here's the bone sauce that I got from Billy. And as you can kind of see here, there's some sediment down at the bottom. It's a different color than what you see above it. So this will need to be stirred up before use. A little bit of this stuff goes a very, very long way. Yeah, I like to use gloves when I'm handling this, not because it's caustic, but just because when you get it on your hands, you're going to be smelling that for quite some time. And so I try to limit it touching my skin. But you can see there's some clumpy stuff at the bottom here that I'm kind of stirring up, and I want to get that all kind of emulsified into this liquid. And that's really the whole point. This is supposed to smell like liquid death to browse animals like deer, rabbits, and the like. Behind me, I've got a number of fodder trees that I planted along this line that have begun to receive a little bit of browse pressure from deer over the past couple of nights. I've got some hybrid willow as well as white mulberry back here. And I wanted to show you some of the damage. What they've actually been most interested in is this white mulberry, and they've come through and you can see the foliage has been stripped off about the level of their browse. So here's more that have been stripped off of this. All the rest of it kind of remains intact. Now, they've been less interested in the hybrid willow. However, there has been some damage on that as well. But they're coming through and getting, you know, browse height. Not getting anything down low, but they're getting it right about where they're walking. So this is probably a small to medium-sized deer that's come through. Again, they've left this alone, but back in here in that browse height section, you can see the foliage has been just stripped back. They've left this tree alone. Again, not interested. Not really so interested. Same with this willow, not interested. But we get back to a white mulberry and all of the branches have been stripped off. They really like this tree. But everything above it has been left. We got a little, actually a little friend in there. He's in there trying to do his business. He's trying to stay as camo as possible, so we'll let him be. Not much interest in the willow. A little bit of browse on the other side, and you come back in here, and again, they're starting to take it right in this zone here. So all of this recent browse may have been just the last couple of nights with maybe one or maybe two deer. There's not a lot of damage, but if he tells his buddies about it and comes back with the whole herd, I could lose all of these trees. So I'm going to try to get them selectively treated to provide that deterrent. What I prefer to use is just a small sponge brush, and that gives me a greater level of precision and control when I'm applying it, particularly when these trees have got foliage on them. It's more critical at that point than it is when they're in the dormant period. However, I still like to not go over the top of the nodes when I'm applying this, because it will have an effect on the regrowth coming out of those nodes. I'll get a little bit of this bone sauce on my brush there, and then I'm actually not going to be as particular about avoiding these nodes, because we are actually getting ready to head into the dormant period here in another month or two, and so there's not going to be a tremendous amount of new growth pushing out of this, but I will just kind of come through and just hit it, and then I'll move on to another branch over here and just hit it. And then what I will also do is, for example, I'll come through here in selective spots in between the foliage and I'll put a little dab, fully avoiding these nodes. But what that'll do is that'll provide that scent that they are really not going to be fond of, and it will deter them from being around this tree just by the mere fact that they're going to smell this quite readily. So what gives me confidence in the fact that this bone sauce has worked well for me around here over the past couple of years is a couple of different examples that I can show. One right behind me. Yeah, these are two fruit trees that are planted right next to each other. This is a peach tree that was planted last year. And last year I treated this tree pretty extensively right before it broke dormancy and pushed out all this foliage. I haven't treated it since. And the other night I had deer come in, and this cherry tree right next to it has been stripped out. You can see the foliage down here. It's empty right in this section, and there's still foliage up above. But this was completely untouched. I've got one other tree over here in my front yard that I'll show you. This is the height of the first year scaffold right here. So I had all these branches first year, and the deer came through and completely wiped this out before I'd put any bone sauce to this. And then I subsequently got some bone sauce. I treated it last year, and then there was no further activity. I treated it again this dormant period. Again, no activity. And now I've got a nice crop of fruiting wood that I'll be able to prune this year for next year's crop. No damage at all, and I've also had some deer activity in this zone. I hope this video was helpful. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.